we need to have a serious talk about ambition. But not ambition as some vague feeling or personality trait. No, we're talking about it as a piece of hardware in your brain. We are going to architect a system. We're going to figure out why your drive stalls, why those huge goals feel like they weigh a ton, and how you can actually re-engineer the system that generates your hunger for success. This isn't about finding more motivation. This is about architecture.
Right here, this is the central paradox that trips up almost every single high performer. You get to a certain level of success, you find some comfort, and you think that the fire that got you there is just going to keep blazing. But it doesn't. It flickers. The very stability you fought for becomes a sedative. Now listen, this isn't a failure of your character. It is a predictable biological output. Your brain is designed for survival, not for building a world-class legacy. It evolved to do one thing really, really well: conserve energy. So it sees your massive vision not as this incredible calling, but as a reckless gamble with its precious metabolic resources. It's a survival mechanism that, in our modern world, has basically put a ceiling on your potential. So your biology is actively working against your legacy, and today, we are going to seize the controls.
So why does this happen? Why does that next level vision, the one that used to feel absolutely electric, now feel like you're dragging a weight? It's because your brain is running on a comfort script. See, we've all been told that passion is just supposed to be there, but the truth, hunger is an engineered signal. And right now, for most of us, that signal is being drowned out by how easy our current life is. And I'm not just talking about a comfy chair. I'm talking about metabolic ease, the feeling of predictability, of not having to think too hard. Your brain gets addicted to this state, so any big goal that introduces uncertainty or that requires a ton of new energy, it gets flagged as a threat. Passion doesn't just die, it gets smothered by efficiency. To fix this, we need a protocol. So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to dissect the comfort paradox. Then, we'll expose what I call the homeostatic hijack. That's the biological trap that's keeping you stuck. After that, I'm going to give you the 3-step ambition engine protocol to rebuild your drive from the ground up. Then, we'll get practical with your 7-day calibration, an action plan to get started immediately. And finally, we'll master the art of the hunt. Okay, let's jump into section 1, the comfort paradox. I want you to think of your core drive as a predator. It is built to hunt, to seek, to conquer. But right now, that predator is probably overfed and sedated. It's been tricked into thinking it's safe, that the hunt is completely over. And this is because we are living in a state of what's called reward satiation. Yeah, this is the brutal honesty of our own neurochemistry, isn't it? Your brain's reward system, those dopaminergic pathways, it doesn't really know the difference between the satisfaction of closing a massive deal and the satisfaction of scrolling through an Instagram feed. It just registers the hit. Think of dopamine as a currency. Your brain doesn't care if it earned $1 from hard, backbreaking labor or if it just found $1 on the street. $1 is $1. And these cheap rewards, a phone notification, a funny video, a sugary snack, they're like finding loose change everywhere you look. They keep your dopamine account just full enough that you never feel that deep, primal hunger you need to go out and earn a fortune. And that is how you smother the predator within. You're trying to build an empire, but your brain is simulating the feeling that you've already won. Okay, so let's see how this snowballs into a much bigger problem. This leads us right to the homeostatic hijack. This is the mechanism that creates what I call the functional average. You know that place, you're doing well enough to be comfortable, but that fire for true excellence, it's gone. And I'm telling you, this is not a personal failing. It is a biological trap. So the key term here is homeostatic capture. Now, you know what homeostasis is, right? It's your body's way of keeping everything stable, your temperature, your blood sugar, all of that. Well, the problem is your brain applies this exact same logic to your entire life. Once you hit a certain income level, a certain amount of stability, your brain flags that as the optimal survival state. And from that moment on, any big, ambitious goal isn't seen as an opportunity. It's seen as a threat, a high-risk move that could destabilize the whole system. You know, this isn't a flaw in the system, it's a feature. For our ancestors, stability meant you lived another day. A reliable food source, a safe cave, that was the prize. The same brain circuits that locked in those patterns are now the ones locking you into your current job title, fighting to protect you from the perceived danger of massive growth. And this is so important to understand. When you feel that heavy resistance, that feeling of just stagnating, it's not you being lazy. It's your anterior cingulate cortex. Think of it as your brain's energy accountant, literally vetoing your ambition. It runs the numbers, it calculates the huge metabolic cost of your next big move, and compares it to the safety of right now. This is not an emotional decision. It's a cold, hard spreadsheet of metabolic cost versus predicted reward. And since your current comfort provides a guaranteed low-cost return, that massive uncertain future goal, it looks like a terrible investment. Your brain's verdict? Vetoed. Conserve energy. You are a high-performance jet being told by its own flight computer that cruising at a safe, steady altitude is the only mission that matters. This is exactly why the old model fails. We've all been taught to just use willpower to grind it out. But as you can see, that is a high-friction strategy. You are literally in a fight with your own biology. And guess what? Under pressure, biology always wins. The new model, biological incentive engineering, doesn't fight the system. It redesigns it. You create a low-friction environment where your biology is actually leveraged to push you toward your goal, not hold you back from it. Which brings us to the solution, the Ambition Engine Protocol. This is how we take back the controls. Think of it like refactoring the code for your brain's radar. We are going to manually override those default comfort-seeking settings and turn your mind from a sedated house cat into a precision hunter. Welcome to the engine room for your drive. All right, the protocol is built on 3 pillars. Step 1, the incentive audit. This is where you stop asking, what do I want? And you start asking a much more powerful question. What in my life is faking the feeling of a win? You have to be ruthless here. You're identifying the pacifiers you use to quiet your ambition. Step 2, Salience Priming. This is where we make your future goals feel more real, more urgent, more necessary for survival than your current comfort. We're turning a distant dream into an immediate, non-negotiable mission. And step 3 is progress-based weighting. You stop chasing that faraway trophy and you start engineering the system so your brain gets its main reward from the process of growth itself. Instead of one big dopamine hit in 2 years, you engineer dozens of small, meaningful hits for executing the process correctly today. You make the hunt way more rewarding than the kill. Now, why is this protocol so darn effective? It's all based on hard science. Let's start with something called reward prediction error. Your brain is constantly guessing how rewarding something's going to be. When you eliminate those easy, predictable rewards from your audit, you create a gap. Your brain kind of panics and goes, hey, where's the reward? The protocol then points it directly at your one massive goal, making that the only way to solve the problem. This creates neural coherence. Think of it like getting every department in your company to work on a single project. No more multitasking, no more wasted energy on social media notifications. All of your cognitive resources, especially that precious fuel we call executive glucose, get routed to the one task that matters. Finally, this taps into the winner effect. The winner effect is a feedback loop. When you win, your brain chemistry literally changes to make you more likely to win again. By consciously ignoring the easy reward for the hard path, you are creating a micro-win. You're signaling to your brain that you're in charge, that you're the kind of person who pursues high-value targets, and that primes you for the next big push. This is the perfect metaphor for this entire philosophy. Grinding and using willpower, that's like pushing a car uphill. It's exhausting, it's unsustainable. Biological incentive engineering is taking the time to build a downward slope. And once that slope is built, the car, your ambition, it just rolls forward with its own unstoppable momentum. You make massive achievement the path of least resistance. All right, let's shift from theory to execution. Section 4 is your 7-day calibration. This is your practical, get started now action plan to implement the ambition engine and start hardening your hunger. The goal here isn't to work harder, it's to see deeper, to clear out the fog of all those cheap rewards. Okay, the very first step is to perform an ambition audit. I want you to look at your average day and identify your personal sedatives. What are the things that keep you feeling full and safe but are muffling the signal of your true ambition? Digital noise isn't just notifications, it's that news site you have open in a background tab, it's the podcast you're only half listening to. It's any input that takes up brain space without moving you forward. For low-effort entertainment, be specific. Is it that reality show that leaves you feeling drained? The YouTube rabbit hole you fall into every night? Name them. An external validation. That's the little dopamine hit from a like or a positive comment. It feels productive, but it's a cheap substitute for the real validation that comes from doing deep, meaningful work. Your job is to find the top 3 things that are faking the win for you. So here's your timeline for the week. Day 1, you do the audit. Write down your top 3 sedatives. By day 3, you are going to significantly limit them. At the same time, you'll start something I call salience flooding. So what does that look like? It's not just thinking about your goal. It is engaging all of your senses. Find pictures of what success looks like. Listen to the music that puts you in that zone. Read stories from people who have already done what you want to do. And I want you to write down in vivid detail what the first Tuesday will look and feel like after you've achieved your goal. You are building a sensory file so rich that your brain starts to mistake it for a memory of the future. By day 7, you just assess the change. And here's the tea. You will notice that you haven't been fighting for motivation. You've simply created the conditions for hunger to show up all on its own. And that brings us to our final section, where we lock in this new operating system. This is the art of the hunt. It's about shifting from a defensive posture of just preserving comfort to an offensive one of claiming your conquest. Look, if you only take one single thing away from our time together today, please let it be this. That lack of drive you've been feeling, it is not a weakness in your character. It is not a moral failing or a sign that you've lost your edge. It is a predictable output from your current biological and environmental inputs. It's a hardware problem, and just like any hardware problem, it can be diagnosed, reconfigured, and optimized for elite performance. And this right here, this is the new definition of high performance. We've been taught that greatness is about endurance, how much stress, how many hours, how much pain you can handle. That's the grind mentality. But the real game, the game that's played at the absolute highest levels, is about strategic elimination. Greatness is actually a measure of your ability to starve the trivial, to ruthlessly cut out the noise and the cheap rewards until only the essential hunt remains. So, here it is, your final directive, your new mantra. Starve the trivial to claim the hunt. Stop trying to want more. Don't force motivation. Instead, architect the void. Create the hunger. The biology of your brain is an incredibly powerful force. Stop fighting it and start directing it. Your greatest ambitions are not just dreams. They are biological targets that are just waiting for a clear signal. Go give them one.